at its edge before setting out across the next taiga. Day 2 would end at the jungle, the farthest Summer had ever been from her home base. And beyond that was the great unknown. It was a simple plan, and very doable provided we didn't run into any trouble. But it had started snowing, which cut down our visibility, hiding any early morning creeper or other night mob lucky enough to be sheltering in the shade of a lone tree. That's why Summer didn't say anything more, not just because she was done pondering our decision, which she was, but also to concentrate on any potential hazards. Surface mobs weren't the only danger out there. There were also those patches of thin, camouflaged snow traps, like the kind I'd fallen through on my first night in this continent. Just thinking about it made me shiver. The covered hole, the freezing pond, the skeleton shooting from the darkness. More of these natural threats had to be out there, along with the possibility of new ones. This world was always changing. It had happened at least twice since meeting Summer. New animals, new plants, and in the case of the Nether, entirely new environments that had nearly gotten us both killed. Had there been other recent changes to the taiga? If there were, we wouldn't have seen them. We'd been so obsessed with electrifying the mountain with redstone lamps that we hadn't even been outside for a plunge in the nearby ice river. If the surface world had changed, we'd find out soon enough. Not that I was worried, though. I knew we could roll with whatever was out there. As I'd learned back on my island, when the world changes, you've got to change with it. And I had, every time. The first change had gotten me the means to make the shield in my left hand, and the most recent world morph had gotten me the crossbow now clutched in my right hand. I'd grown to really dig this new weapon, and to prefer it over the older stand-up bow. First, I could leave it cocked, which meant no straining or slowing my pace to draw. Second, and more important for me, it wasn't a rapid-fire weapon. That might sound like a disadvantage, but at this point, I was running out of arrows. Why not just make more? Fair question, especially if you haven't found the last 2 books I've left behind for other lost adventurers. But just know that I don't kill animals for food anymore. I'd been too guilt-ridden since slaughtering my chicken flock back on the island. I'd tried not to think about that time, but recently I couldn't help it. My original supply of arrows was running out, and as you might know or might not, if you're new to this world, arrows can't be made without chicken feathers. What would I do? Start killing birds again? Or share feathers from Summer's kills? I'd learned a long time ago that sometimes you have to compromise an ideal in order to save it. But I wasn't ready to make that particular compromise just yet. Conserving arrows with a crossbow would, hopefully, buy me enough time to make up my mind. And I hope you aren't too annoyed with me for pulling you out of the story to go off on what seems to be a totally random tangent. Trust me, it's not. Just like I did, you'll see how important this moral quandary will be later. But that morning, all that mattered were the dangers right in front of us. And fortunately, there weren't any. No new mobs, no new plants or animals, and thankfully, no old threats like a carpet of thin, please fall through me quick snow. We reached the igloo where I'd first met Summer without incident, then continued on into the forest that bordered the white waste. We stopped at the sweetberry bushes, which had appeared after the last change, and had a quick, flavorful snack. We'd brought plenty of food with us, but as a general rule, it was always better to live off the land when possible. Personally, I was glad that Summer filled her belly with berries, because otherwise she might have turned her hunger on the next food source that ambled by. Cows. The herd I'd met before, just like my best friend Moo from the island. Yes.